Slain Iranian General Qasem Soleimani is apparently not happy with her new digs at an ICE detention center in Texas after a life of luxury she enjoyed in Los Angeles. She's reportedly called her former boyfriend for help to escape the facility. But according to the New York Post, he declined the call, saying this, quote, "I don't want anything to do with her. She scares me."
These people come over here from these trash countries seeking asylum and wanting a better place, and then they get here and begin to be ungrateful. Like, it's asinine to me, and I hope that we begin to take action against people who are not lawfully able to stay in this country if we can get them out of here if they're disrespecting America. Let me talk about something that really matters to me. In 1991, the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial was built to honor the men and women who gave their lives in the line of duty. Since then, over 24,000 officers have been added. Let that sink in. And every year, more names are added. This year alone, 363 officers will be honored, including 109 who died just last year. This is a living memorial because the sacrifice doesn't stop. Every name on this wall represents somebody who left home and never made it back. A mother, a father, a son, a daughter. And for the families left behind, this memorial means everything. It's a promise that their loved ones will never be forgotten. It costs $1,000 to engrave a name on that wall, ensuring it will forever be a part of our nation's history. And a full tribute, which includes a plaque and having their name read aloud at the annual candlelight vigil, costs $5,000. That vigil takes place every year during National Police Week in Washington, D.C. And I'm telling you, it's one of the most powerful things that you'll ever see. And here's the truth. This memorial doesn't receive federal funding. It relies on people like you. So if you support law enforcement, this is a real way to show it. Help us honor the fallen and make sure that their sacrifice is never forgotten.
There was an interesting domestic story attached to all this that I didn't touch on earlier in the week, but let me read this from Colin Rugg on X. New, the niece and grandniece of slain Iranian General Qasem Soleimani were reportedly living lavish lifestyles in Los Angeles before being arrested by ICE. Hamideh Soleiman Afshar, the niece, had allegedly celebrated the Iranian attacks on U.S. soldiers. While living in the United States, she promoted Iranian regime propaganda, celebrated attacks against American soldiers and military facilities in the Middle East, praised the new Iranian supreme leader, denounced America as the great Satan, and voiced her unflinching support for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, a designated terrorist organization, the State Department said. Afshar, 47, was granted asylum in 2019 and received a green card from the Biden administration in 21. The grandniece of Soleimani, Sarinazat Hosseini, 25, entered the U.S. in 2015 on a student visa and later became a green card holder. Her now deleted Instagram showed her clubbing in Miami, spending time in Alaska, and partying in Las Vegas, according to the New York Post. Guys, you know, look, I don't think anyone's guilty of their father's sins or their great uncle's sins or anything else. The irony, I mean, there's a couple layers here. Brandon, you were earlier talking about all these people that hate America but never leave. I mean, right, there's that. But then the irony of, you know, this girl wandering around in bikinis and going to beaches and doing all her stuff on Instagram while the women in Iran are quite literally fighting so that they can rip off the burqa.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely asinine that these people, you know, pull these stunts, right? We see the same thing in Mexico. People are running around with the Mexican flag. Mexican is the greatest country, but they don't want to live in Mexico. They want nothing to do with Mexico. And the funny thing is that none of this stuff in America that we are able to exercise or live through came for free. Somebody had to die for this stuff, right? And we had soldiers and men and women that have died in war to make sure that we're safe and we have all these luxuries. These people don't come from countries that sacrificed anything for America, but they want to live and get all the benefits of being in America. And I think Marco Rubio is taking some action in this area, but, you know, they need to leave this country. If you, especially people like Ilhan Omar, these people come over here from these trash countries seeking asylum and wanting a better place, and then they get here and begin to be ungrateful. Like, it's asinine to me, and I hope that we begin to take action against people who are not lawfully able to stay in this country if we can get them out of here if they're disrespecting America.
Well, finally, last week, JD went on the record and said that we know that Ilhan has married her brother, so they might finally get somewhere on that. Dinesh, let me throw to this video. This is Dr. Masa Tarani. She's an Iranian woman, and watch her take on these ridiculous people that come here and do this type of thing.
This is a prime example of the hypocrisy of the double standard of the Islamic regime. You know, if America is the great Satan, why do you send your offspring and loved ones here? A few years ago, Mahsa Amini, who was that young Persian woman who was detained by the regime's police, and she was beaten to death because a couple of strands of her hair were showing. And then yet you have the same regime officials' children here enjoying what we have in the U.S., our free dress code, our amazing academic institutions, our basic human rights that their counterparts back in Iran unfortunately can't enjoy. And what's really concerning to me, John, is that isn't this a national security threat when you have these regime affiliates coming into close contact with our laboratories, our research facilities here, our developing technologies? So I think the Secretary of State is doing a great job honing in on these people.
So, Brandon, were you surprised that so many people on the right, it's one thing when the people on the left go apoplectic because he posts something, but so many people on the right, after 10 years of Trump doing all this stuff, genuinely thought World War III was going to kick off at 8 p.m.
Yeah, no.
Or at least we're saying that's what they thought. I don't know what they genuinely
Yeah, I'm incredibly shocked that people would not see the writing on the wall with Donald Trump at this point. I mean, he say outlandish things ever since he was, just doing real estate as a real estate mogul. And I think that it's a big game to Donald Trump. And I feel like every other president either doesn't have a strategy or too cowardice to actually say bold things to get things done. And so when I saw Donald Trump say it, I thought it was wild, right? I said, man, Trump is wild. I mean, did somebody steal his phone or did he really say that? But then I realized that Donald Trump is strategic. And so, of course, he's going to say that. And look at what the response is. I mean, it sounds crazy, but look how they're responding. And I think that they have to contend with, do they really want to see Donald Trump actually do the crazy stuff that he's saying? Because I don't think that they see him as a regular president that's, what they would say controlled or measured. Donald Trump is radical enough that he probably would do it. And so they don't want to take that chance. So what do? They agree to a ceasefire. And I know that some people are squeamish and maybe weak to the fact that Donald Trump says things like this. But look, I'm at the point where I'm okay with him saying whatever he thinks he needs to say to get things done. And then, you can cry about it later.